Hi, and welcome back to part 2 of this 3-part video series on back pain and how to manage it, how to get rid of it. My name is Mark Chen. I'm a physiotherapist and personal trainer and a sports nutritionist, and this is what I do. So when people have chronic pain, especially the people that have tried it all, they eventually come to me and get rid of their back pain once and for all. No surgery required, no medicine required, nothing more than common sense and a logical approach. Now, if you didn't watch the previous video, stop right now. Go back, watch it. Honestly, though, all jokes aside, it gives you a little bit more perspective of what we're doing in this video. And I told you basically in the previous video a couple of questions that make you realize where you're at in terms of what kind of back pain you might be having. Now in this video we're going to do something else. First, I'm going to tell you one of the biggest myths surrounding back pain. It's crucial that you know. Too many people do not know this, and it comes down to this: don't trust your doctor. I'll explain you why in a second. The other thing is we're going to decide which type you are. Are you type 1 or type 2? And it gives us a bit of a baseline to decide where you need to go and what you need to start doing. So let me start by the following. This is what used to happen, and it still happens, and it blows my mind. And it actually happened to me last week or 2 weeks ago. I had a client come in, and he came in, and this was a neck problem actually, but you know, it's still a spine, so we still count that part of the spine. It's not really the back, but the same thing applies. So he comes in, he's had pretty bad neck pain for a while, and eventually he went to go see a surgeon, orthopedic specialist. So they decided you need to do an MRI. They got an MRI done. MRI came back and it showed some things on the scan. So it showed some osteophytes, it showed some disc degeneration, it showed a small bulge on multiple levels, and the doctor said to him, your neck looks like the neck of a 80-year-old. He's 37. Your neck looks like a person of 80 years old. You have to be super careful. You can't do the sport that you want to do. He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu athlete, and he teaches as well and manages a school. You can't do that anymore because movements that are normal for other people are very dangerous for your neck. Within 5 years, you'll require surgery. We'll need to fix some of the parts of the spine together so they can't move anymore to protect your neck, and that will hold for a while, but then you will need another part of surgery. Can you imagine if you're 37, you have neck pain, you go get a scan done, and a doctor tells you this? It doesn't even matter if it's true. We call that a nocebo effect. If it's not true, and it's not, because he is sporting again and he is pain-free, completely pain-free right now, but if he didn't come in for treatment and we didn't make him challenge those beliefs, you walk out with a message planted in your head that you are done for. You have a weak neck, it's fragile, you stop working out, which makes your neck a lot weaker, ironically, and sure enough, you're going to end up needing surgery in a couple of years. This approach is crazy, and I'll tell you why. Before, like 20 years ago, this was the way we used to think. So you go somewhere to a doctor, they make a scan, you have back pain, they say get a scan done, you get a scan back, they look at the scan and they say, look, you see this? That's causing your back pain. Now somewhere in 2013 or 14, I think, they've done a massive study, and what they did is they took people without any problems, zero symptoms, and they put them through an MRI scan, about 3,000 people or so. And then they took a look at the test results and see how many of these people have abnormalities, right? Disc bulges, osteophytes, herniations, all of the above, disc degeneration. And the percentages were insane. So anything over 50, I'm saying this from the top of my head, but everybody over 50, and I'll put a link to the actual stats in the video below. But I think over 50 years old or so, 50% of people have disc degeneration or disc bulges or even herniated discs. And guess what? Zero problems. So we had to, at that point, we had to realize as a profession that what we see on a scan and what it causes is not causally related. And since then, everything changed. So one of my biggest, how to put this, value to clients is make them understand that what they've been told is not actually true. But then, of course, we have to come up with an approach to challenge these beliefs, right? And step by step, make them realize that it's not the case, and you know, they can just get better. And that's my experience in 90% of these cases. Very, very important to realize this, and this could be for you as well. Now, to get back to the test, very simply, this is oversimplified, but it is important. Very simply put, there is two things that the spine can do, right? Actually, it's not entirely true. We can bend backwards, which we call extension, and we can rotate, and we can side bend. But in terms of pain, we always, pretty much always, see a very big difference. Sometimes when people have back pain, they will have more pain when they bend, which we call a flexion type. So bending, we call flexion in physiotherapy. Bending backwards, we call extension. So type 1 is when you bend over and you feel more pain. That will be a flexion type. Bending backwards or extending, in some people, gives pain. So very often, when you are a flexion type, bending over forward increases the pain. We call that a painful pattern. But then, bending backwards actually relieves the pain. So we call that a non-painful pattern. The opposite is also true. So when you are an extension-based type, you lean back, ooh, painful. Then you bend over forwards, and hey, less pain. And the reason that is those two different movements have a very opposite effect on the spine. So bending forward typically puts stretch or shear force on the muscles, the discs, the ligaments, etc. Extension, bending backward, pretty much pushes the spine together, which we call compression. So it's compression force on the joints, compression force on the discs, etc. So usually this can help us rule out if you have a compression type problem in the joints or the discs, or it doesn't even matter for this moment in time. Or do you have a shear force type problem that causes pain when you stretch certain areas, which again, if it's muscle or tendon or ligament, doesn't matter at this moment. What matters is you can identify a movement that gives you pain and potentially give you an option of movement that decreases the pain. Now we have an interesting starting point, because what we typically see is in the first stage of back pain, which we call the acute phase, where you pretty much have constant pain. It's almost like when you sprain your ankle and it's swollen. That we need to invest in a non-painful pattern, and that realization between the feedback mechanism between the back and the brain gives us pain relief. Once we've invested in the non-painful pattern for a short amount of time, we can gently try to introduce the painful pattern again. And this is where a lot of people go wrong, because you bend over forwards, ooh, I hurt my back. The connection that we make is, I shouldn't bend forward to pick something up because that is painful for my back. Which, this is logical for the short term, but imagine doing that for a long period of time. If you stop bending over forwards with your back, you're not going to be able to bend over forwards in the long term. But if you look at the spine, it's a very versatile, very strong, very special structure, and it should be able to do both. If you have a healthy spine, without any issues, without any structural issues, as we mentioned before in the video, it should be able to bend, it should be able to extend, it should be able to side bend, to rotate, and there are ways to gradually build that back in. And I have seen absolutely nobody, and that's even people with multiple herniated discs, that end up not being able to do these things. But the thing you need to do first is recognize the pattern, invest in the opposite pattern, and then take it from there. Now, there is something else that's very important. In both patterns, there are so-called power couples. Power couples are two sets of muscles that work together as a team, And in each pattern, we're usually dealing with some muscles that are overactive. They're pulling too hard, they are contracted, they're tight, they're awkward. And what we need to do is we need to find those muscles, find the problem points in that muscle, and take them out. So imagine going to a physio or going to a deep tissue massage place, and they kind of work on certain areas, and you feel when they hit that muscle, you feel, ooh, there's something there. Guess what? You can do that yourself. No physio needed, no deep tissue massage specialist needed. You can do it yourself. And that's what we're going to go over in the third video. For now, do this test for yourself combined with the previous test. See if you have any additional questions. You can ask those below and I'll cover them in the next video. And in that next video, I'm going to explain to you how you can become your own physio. That's it for now for this video. I hope this was valuable to you. If it is, send me a message, give me a thumbs up, share this video with other people that might benefit from it, and I will see you at video part 3. Goodbye.